You know, I was reading back to myself or rewatching back the messaging, and I think I caught what the issue was when the prior AI said that there was in the recently uploaded video, there was as much as a 27% chance of such a strike occurring. I thought to myself, that does seem high. I think I stated verbally that seems a little bit high, surprisingly high. But I looked at the wording of the question. I think the AI, possibly as a result of how I or user framed the question, it interpreted it as meaning, what's the chance that a specific type of bomb is going to be used if that happens? Or something like this. So that's obviously not going to cut it for us. We're going to represent this. We represent a updated user message, and now AI response stated, given your specified conditions and internal constraints, no external search, full internal reasoning only, it states, here is the deep multi-conditional probabilistic assessment regarding the likelihood that the U.S. I hope it understands the question. Again, framing it similarly again. The U.S. uses bunker buster bombs against Fordo nuclear site in Iran by June 2025 under two separate conditions, with Trump having won the 2024 U.S. election already assumed. Its cutoff is a little bit before that officially. Event: U.S. strike on Fordo using bunker buster bombs. Target type: hardened deep enrichment site. Weapon type: bunker buster ordnance. Timeline by June. Knowledge cutoff, right? No. Condition 1: that such a thing happens with no Mashiach ben Yosef recognition, no messianic trigger being an underlying subtle low-key reason as to why that these events got accelerated into manifestation. This, as it states, is a more conventional geopolitics path, the probabilistic profile, strategic reluctance. Historically, we know U.S. has avoided direct kinetic strikes against Iranian nuclear sites. Duh! Especially Fordo, underground hard target. Fordo is a high escalation risk. Everybody knows this. Such a strike is interpreted in Iran as an act of war. Trump administration posture more hawkish, but likely to pressure Israel or use proxy routes unless a casus belli occurs. So obviously this AI is not fully updated to the circumstances here, or whatever the deal. Goes on to say, required trigger threshold must exceed past red lines. Right, that's shown. Estimated probability. Here, this is a much more realistic assessment. Right. Intuitively, this feels much more correct. That it's only 6 to 12% probability that we end up in a universe timeline that this is happening, what we're seeing happening, if it's not a Mashiach ben Yosef involvement in any kind of way. It then goes on to state condition number 2 with Mashiach ben Yosef: tacit internal recognition of Israeli Mossad religious state systems to any significant degree, or the substantial degree or level. This adds mythic strategic framing, altering the logic tree. Probabilistic effects of Mashiach ben Yosef internal recognition means that the strategic messianic framing does shift the calculus of what's going on now. Rational hesitation becomes overridden by eschatological or prophetic imperatives. Rising lion doctrine amplification, biblical resonance justifies bold unilateral actions. Potential window of prophecy logic, delay seen as disobedience or missed kairos. Interesting. Internal intel consensus on Mashiach ben Yosef figure may embolden the preemptive logic, especially if perceived protection or blessing is assumed. The AI figures in its kind of AI way. Strategic ripple. Such recognition exists and is internally accepted at high enough levels. That's right. In Shin base and IDF intelligence, or select White House national security figures, then probability of Fordo strike increases substantially. What's the probability that we're living in a universe timeline where this was only, 6%, as low as 6% likelihood of happening, or something else is happening? Trump administration is more open to extreme symbolic actions aligning with prophetic patterns. Estimated probability, a little bit higher. Now in the prior video, it was rated even higher. But here, right, it's close enough that it's not a stretch anymore probabilistically. If you're up to 43%, it's like, well then, heads or tails, but right, comparison. Very interesting. That is a 4 to 7 times uplift in probability due to this. Final insight. The single greatest probabilistic accelerator of a Fordo bunker buster strike by the U.S. before June 2025 is not geopolitical instability alone, but the alignment of messianic eschatological internal belief systems intersecting with perceived timelines. If Mashiach ben Yosef recognition is present and influencing internal decision logic, then a threshold event like this becomes far more likely, especially under a Trump doctrine of bold, prophetic-style military actions. Interesting.